Real Conversations with Anita, a mental health podcast brought to you by MIASA Malaysia. This is Real Conversations with Anita, a mental health podcast brought to you by MIASA Malaysia. And today we will be unpacking the taboos surrounding mental health, and we have with us today an important guest that I had the privilege and opportunity to listen to. I was actually in awe hearing her experiences growing up, her struggles and values she upholds. And I told my team, we've got to get her on board our podcast. So thank you so much, Diana Danielle, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I feel almost like I don't deserve to be here in comparison with the things that you do every day. I was just, sharing my little bits of history, I would say, but nothing compared to what you've probably seen or heard. But thank you so much for giving me the platform to at least talk about it, because I think that's the least I can do with the platforms that I have and the people that probably are following me on my socials. I feel like I don't do enough. So thank you so much. I've always wanted to do this in a more serious way, more, with a bit more motivation and a bit more intention. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Good start opening the year.
Oh, yeah.
So how have you been?
Wow. I've struggled with my own expectations. I think due to how I was raised, God bless my mother, she's given me so many good attributes, I suppose. But at the same time, I feel like I'm a perfectionist because of those things, and I have to manage my own expectation of what I want for the year. And I also want to not have those resolutions.
I was just about to ask. Yeah. Do you have any New Year resolutions?
I think it's no longer about building something new. It's about continuing whatever that I have worked on from 2023.
Betul.
So it's not a refresh button, but it's also just to re-strategize.
Betul.
So this is just, for me, I have worked on being more on time. I'm not very Malaysian
You were punctual
anymore.
Today?
I was punctual by 6 minutes.
Yes. Alhamdulillah.
I was 6 minutes early,
Yep.
which is 2 hours early when, if you knew me a few years ago.
Alhamdulillah. Good to know.
Thank you. So there's big difference, I think, mentally, and also how you show up when you come
Definitely.
early. I also feel like I manage my time better, so I'm continuing on trying to manage my time management, not just in showing up early, but also how to use my time productively and with more intention. So that's basically what I'm trying to do for 2024, and see how that will affect my productivity as a whole.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So how about yourself?
I've got one addition to my New Year resolution.
Oh, love. There's an addition.
There's an addition, which is fulfilling my New Year resolutions.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't fulfill them, I have this huge list, this long list,
Right.
tons of things in it that I would
Yeah.
like to improve, etc. But then I don't fulfill all of it. So my goal this year is to fulfill my New Year resolutions, inshallah.
Inshallah. Can I just know what is that one resolution that you are the priority from all the rest that you have?
Really just to improve as a mom, as a wife, as an employer, as a
That
daughter.
itself is
Huge, right?
huge.
Right?
Yeah.
But then I have the breakdowns, of course.
Of course.
So how do I need to achieve that? So there's a lot on my list this year, but I'm really hoping. It's nothing new like what you said, but I'm just strategizing it better, and hopefully able to fulfill.
Pivot and tweak,
exactly.
right?
Tweak a bit. So
Yeah.
So that's
and
what
I
I'm
hope,
hoping.
everyone who's listening out there, I think what demotivates us in terms of resolutions, it's that we always try to start new when it's
Betul.
not really anything new. It's
Yeah.
just trying to add on to whatever that you feel is lacking in your life.
Right,
Right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
sustaining the things that
Sustaining, oh my
you've
God.
improved. Kan? Yeah.
Stop being so real. Sustaining is one
Yes,
thing.
of course. That's
Floating is one.
Istiqomah, right? That's the
Yes.
hardest thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Diana, you know that this whole season, we've been talking about taboos surrounding mental health. Now, for you today, we would like to talk about resilience.
Right.
Now, there's a reason behind this. I was inspired because from what I heard during our last meet at Maybank, and I heard you sharing bits and pieces, right, of your experiences growing up, your challenges. And I was actually really at awe when I listened to you. And so what we aspire to do with our podcast is really to honor these stories, right? We want to, because these are really invaluable, right? These insights and experiences. And I know that a lot of times we share things at a very surface level. But really, if you're comfortable, we want to go in a little bit deeper. And the reason for this is because we want people who are struggling, because we're MIASA.
Yeah.
People that follow us.
This is the place. I get
This
free
is the
therapy.
So it's a open, public, safe space.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And hopefully through voices of hope like yours, people who are struggling might find hope
Right.
and might reach out for the help. And it's okay to reach out for the help,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
So this is what we aspire to do within our podcast, and to support our viewers, listeners, people that are tuning in to have these difficult and meaningful conversations, right? So if you're ready, the first question for you. So I heard you talking a little bit about, your experiences growing up, the challenges, going through all of that at a very young age. So maybe you want to begin with that. And then also, if you could choose maybe one or two of the experiences that has shaped you to who you are today.
I think there's a growing sense of overwhelm as we progress into answering the question.
Betul.
There's that kind of feeling of, where do I start? Because how do you talk about something that is probably one of the most painful times of your life,
Right.
and kind of put it in words, because they're emotionally disturbing, I would say,
Yeah.
and also psychologically, I would say it's stole, but that's almost looking at something with glass half full.
Betul.
It's stole, but yet it added so much value onto my life as I walk through life, and I realize sometimes people go through these things way maybe in their 30s or 40s, but I went through them when I was, say, 4.
Very young. Betul.
But I'm looking back, I'm thankful because I started early, I suppose, in the test of life. But again, not trying to go and deviate, but kind of an opening is, I feel like my story is just not as terrible, because I've talked to, again, like you, being a public figure, you get to talk to so many people,
Right.
and I get exposed to so many people's childhoods, and for me, their childhood, nobody has a perfect child, and if you do, I'm so happy for you. You are one of the rare ones, but most of us
Right.
have gone through stuff that challenged us, and that's why we're here. That's why we are the people who are still standing, who are very strong and resilient. Whoever that are still breathing today, to me, you guys are strong.
Right.
Generally, everyone is going through something, and we're all pushing by, and we're all very, very resilient. And to say one is more resilient than the other, I don't know how we have
It's different.
a compass for that. Like,
Betul.
we don't know.
Right.
But okay, because I feel like when you say a topic about resilience, I feel like I'm not the most resilient people out there. I'm just one of those people that you've heard from, that I get the chance to tell my story. Okay, done, Diana.
Okay.
I just feel like I just needed to
Get that out of the way.
get that out of the way.
Right.
Because
But
I
how
don't
did you
feel very important.
No, how did you feel when, as you were, like you said, at 4 years old, or however young that you can remember these experiences, how did that make you feel when you were going through that versus now? Because now it's in retrospect, it's different, right? Because you realize a lot of things. But as you were going through it,
Some people are not meant to be together. Okay? I would say that my parents were a mismatch from
Right.
the start. So when they got married and they were together and they had me, it was just tumultuous.
Yeah.
From the start, I think even before I could remember, their relationship just was quite rocky from the start. And so when I was about 4, 5 years old, I was just more aware of these things. And I realized at the age of 5 that my dad was just not around anymore. But I've gotten to know him. He wasn't really all there, but you know who your dad is, you know who your mom is, and then suddenly you're just like, hey, where's dad? And then dad's not there anymore. And then you just go like, okay, so you don't understand why, you don't understand how, and you start to just have this longing, this, I miss him so much. I just don't know where do I put this huge feeling of loss and hurt and neglect and love.
Right.
Where do I project it to? Because it's not to anybody else but him.
Right.
So that's the first thing that I was struggling with, was this immense amount of emotions that I just could not project to anybody. Even if I were projecting it to my mom, it's not for you, it's for my dad, you know. And I felt extremely lonely because my mom was very busy. So she was working in insurance, right? So I remember she was at MNI. Do you remember MNI?
Of course I do. I have friends from MNI.
It's near Kampung Baru there, right?
Betul.
So my mom was there. She was working a 9-to-5 job, and sometimes she had to work late.
And you're the only child.
I'm the only child. And sometimes, she had a social life, so she was going out and seeing her friends. So I remember just growing up and feeling like I didn't have anybody who was my peg, who was my, my foundation, and someone whom I could feel like this closeness to.
Is your mom an affectionate person? Would you say?
She was an interesting person.
Right.
She was affectionate, yet she had a temper. So there's a tug and pull, there's a push and pull. So I had to be, I love her to death.
Right.
But I just could not understand. I think she was just going through so much.
Of course. There was a lot.
So there was a lot for her as well to figure out how she was going to survive, also having to take care of this child in the 90s, where people had this thing about, divorced women. So she was going through her own societal rejection, I suppose.
There's shame as well that she carried,
shame.
probably. Right?
Yeah, with the people in the kampung as well. She had a lot to answer, always having to. So my mom was going through a lot. So then all of that, I was looking at her and I just could feel this rush of just so many things going on. So I think I was observing and I was taking in all these things since I was very small. And being an only child, you don't have a filter.
Right.
You don't have a brother or a sister to distract you.
Right.
Whatever that's in front of you, you take it in fully.
Right.
So that really had me understand.
Did you feel unseen during the time?
It was confusing because I was the only child, so I can't not feel seen.
Right. Or unheard,
in a way,
in a way.
Unheard, yes. She definitely saw me.
Right.
I was this energetic,
bubbly person.
Bubbly person. I was always, but I was very adventurous because I was bored. So I was out of the house also most of the time. Very curious child. I was hanging out with adults and kids.
Together.
Everyone was my friend,
right.
and I would be jumping from one home to another. It was the 90s, so you could literally just go out of the house and come back during Maghrib, before Maghrib. But Maghrib was the cue.
For everyone, for every child during the time.
And my kids too. And my kids too now. So, yes, being unheard was one of the most painful things, because I think the thing that I was not heard about, the topic was, where was my dad? So,
did your dad leave abruptly, or you knew abruptly?
And my mom remarried soon after that.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, almost like, hey, let's,
no
tukar
grief time,
baju.
and just the next one came.
No, I remember when she was getting married. and it was my grandmother's choice for her
Yeah.
to marry a local man.
I see.
And so she looked at me and she said, while she was getting ready, she looked at me and she said, should I marry him? And I was like, huh? Yeah, I don't know, I remember just feeling so puzzled that she would turn and ask me this
Right.
really, really serious question.
Right.
And to me, it was like, yeah, sure, why not? Not understanding what was really happening.
Right.
And up until now, I think I regret not saying no.
Okay.
Because it's like my mom was actually, it was a call for help. Who would actually ask that question, babe?
Yeah, it's a
If they
huge
were
question
really sure.
for betul-betul. That's
To
true.
your daughter.
Right.
If she wasn't sure. I mean, you did have the
betul.
capacity to understand, but
Right.
why would, because you want someone.
It's like, am I doing the right thing, right?
Am I doing the right thing?
She was
Maybe
seeking
for
for
you,
validation.
for us.
Yeah.
And maybe she just wanted me to say
No.
because everyone around her was pushing her towards marrying this man that she didn't know. So
And she probably wanted you to be happy. She probably wanted to fill that void that maybe you felt, that maybe you yearned for your dad.
absolutely, maybe it was a problem solved if I had a man,
Right.
who could take care of us. And
What did you miss most about your dad during the time or during your process of growing up?
I think that he had a lot to give, that that we were not able to reach that
Right.
stage. I know he's a very bright man, and he was very jolly as well. I think there's a part of me that was him that I never was able to
Discover, right?
So that was one of the things that I was always trying to understand,
Right.
what makes me
Right.
from you, and because I know what I got from my mom,
Correct.
but I never really knew the things that my dad liked, things that he wanted, who he wanted me to be, his hopes and dreams for me, sort of thing, So
Right.
yeah.
So what happened like right after? So you had a new dad that came in, and what was the relationship like for you and?
Well, he was just a con man, so
Okay, so that didn't work out as well.
no.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing that piece. I'll come back to that. But I also wanted to ask, because I remembered in one of your sharings, you spoke about one of the struggles or one of the things that you had to do was when your mom fell ill,
Yeah.
and you had to step up, right? Or being an adult or being that daughter for her. Can you share a little bit about what was that experience like? Firstly, on when she fell sick, how did that turn things, and how did you support her, and what did you do?
So we have to push it back a few years. A few years before that, my mom was working on very big projects that she was working really hard for. So she had big ambitions.
Right.
And she was very, I think she was very different from the rest of her family. She really taught me things like dream really big and go for it. And she was very just fearless. And those are the things that I love so much about her till this day. She is so fearless. She will say what she wants to say. And she's unapologetic about how she feels.
Right.
So those are the things that Mom, thank you for those traits that I learned from you,
I see that a lot in you.
There's that fire in her. And she put me in a good school. She really, really at that point changed our lives.
Yeah.
We started at the back end of Ampang. And we then came into the front end of Ampang, So for a single mom, that she really had a vision for herself.
Right.
Just things, suddenly surprises came. And one thing is she was a heavy smoker. And I can say this because she allows me to
Right.
talk about it, She was a heavy smoker. She didn't take care of her lifestyle, drank
Right.
lots and lots of coffee, slept really late,
Right.
and didn't have work-life balance. So that's why I wanted to take it back a few years.
Right.
I saw that, but she was working from home, and I work from home now.
Okay.
So even though she was still very hardworking, she was there.
Right.
She was there. My friends could come over. My friends, she was everyone's mom.
Right.
So if anybody had boyfriend issues or whatever struggles at home,
She would
you
be the
come to
go-to
our
person,
house.
right.
You know, you run away from home, you come to our
Right,
house. We were little Miasa.
Right.
So
Aw. Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, so I had a refuge. Like everybody was just so, you know, we love each other. It was just amazing. Of course, she was under a lot of stress.
Right.
And yeah, so then she fell sick and I didn't know. I remember coming home and then she's like, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
But that was this wall already. I could feel this wall. I think she was trying not to break down. So she said, I got the results. And my mom is just like, she likes to tell me things. It's just like,
Just give it to you.
This is it, you know? You have to handle it.
Yep.
So she's like, I have lung cancer. And I'm like, interesting. So what do we do now? She's like, I will not go for chemo. I don't believe in chemo. I will go for other traditional therapies. And I know this guy, he's my Chinese friend from Penang, so we're going to do Qigong. And I go,
Qigong, I haven't heard that in a long time.
yeah. So like, I didn't know right from wrong in terms of how to treat cancer and stuff.
Right.
So I didn't know how to give her any opinion. So I said, okay. And we just uprooted from KL and just stayed in Penang. That
For her
was the
treatment.
that was the most isolating thing for a teenager.
Right.
Where you have your friends, your house, your mom's business, everything was just routine, and then suddenly you're living in someone's house,
Okay.
and it's someone who's also from a different culture,
Right.
and
Well, so you guys stayed in.
in his
His
house
house
with
for
his
the
family,
training.
with
Got
his
it.
whole family,
Wow. For how long?
for 2-3 months.
Okay.
It was.
And you went to school, or you didn't go to school?
I didn't go to school
Okay.
because that was just, she couldn't
Right.
pay for everything. Just went downhill from there. She lost her. We couldn't pay for rent. We couldn't. We just nothing. We couldn't pay for our food. Literally, we just were financially also flipped.
Right.
So he was helping us out, and I remember just being very rebellious, and he could not stand me, so he chucked us in a flat house.
Both of you in a flat house. Okay.
And my mom was so upset with me because she's like, why did you do this? I didn't know why I did it. I think I was just lonely, upset,
Bored.
unsure.
Right.
Everything was tumbling down, and here I am living with this family, and I had to follow their rules, and I couldn't go to school, and we had no money.
Right. You're just being a kid.
Yeah, so I was just being a
Expressing
nuisance.
yourself.
Yeah,
Nuisance.
I was using their house phone to call my friends
Wow.
for hours, and it was a lot for them to pay.
Of
And they're
course.
like, "This kid doesn't know her place," but I was so isolated. So then my mom was doing her treatment, and it was a success. She got it under control. She had treatments from other places as well. After that, we came back to KL, and we were living with other people for about almost a year, living here, living there, living there, living here. And suddenly I found someone who could give me a job.
So you worked. Was she working during
She
the
couldn't
time?
work.
She couldn't
Her
work.
mental health was just not.
Deteriorating, right. Got
It was not. It was
Not
not
in the
there.
right place.
She was not my mom anymore at that point.
I see.
She was just consumed by the fall of her empire in that sense. She built herself. She had workers. She had projects. She had given me a life, and suddenly everything was taken away. So I think she was suffering from that depression and frustration of what happened. I did everything right. You know, and then now I don't have any of those things, and I have to start again. So she was expressing to me, I don't know if I can ever start again. it's just too much work. You don't understand, she said.
And we see this a lot happening during COVID. A lot of people lost jobs and lost their, income, and a lot of people fell into depression as well.
Yeah,
not just in Malaysia, across the globe.
Of course,
across the globe.
of course.
That really interesting how that all happened. Then what happened after? So you got a job.
That affected our relationship because I
Right.
thought she was very irresponsible.
Right, because you didn't understand what depression looked like during the time, right?
That's true, and I'm like, Mom needs to
work and do something.
work and do something,
Right.
and you can't leave us hungry because
Right.
I can't work.
Right.
I
How
was
old were
12.
you? 12. Wow.
So
That's really young.
I could not. That was no choice. Like I couldn't
Right.
just go out and work. You can't look at me, and I can't do anything for
Right.
you. You know. So
I'm 18. Right?
yeah. So it's like, Mom, we can't live with people for. So I was questioning her, and I was almost interrogating her decisions. You know, and she was very angry with me about
Right.
like, don't talk to me like that. And I'm like, but we have to answer these heavy questions. Like, where are we going to get money?
Right.
How are we going to eat? How, not even how are we going to pay rent, or how are we even going to
Right.
eat? Where is our next food coming from?
Right.
Because her friends came just to give us food. Until when?
Right.
It's until one point, like her friends came with 1 ringgit nasi lemak to give us. I had half a stale bread to eat.
Right.
And we didn't even have like macam the apa tu yang pemanas air tu. Now it's kuku, right? So
Right.
we didn't even have that. So I would
Right.
eat like cold Maggie and wait for the Maggie to just
Wow.
yeah.
Does
it
it
was
work in
literally
cold water?
no. I had to enjoy it all crunchy,
Wow.
So it was a point where I was just like, oh God, I really need to do something about this. So I thought maybe I should work at a pasar malam or I was then churning, okay,
Right. You wanted to do something, right?
I
You
have to
wanted
do
act
something. I
upon
need
it,
to
right.
I need to eat,
Right.
So suddenly opportunities came to our door. Someone was filming at that house my mom's friend was staying. She was doing this, she was renting the house so people could shoot.
Yeah.
And it was just that kind of,
So that was how it started.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
Awesome.
was all scouted. And then they were like, hey, you seem like you could be on TV. You have the look. And I was
Right.
like, this skinny, frail girl. And I was like, yeah, sure, anything.
Yeah. Anything for food.
Anything for food,
Yeah.
and to get out of that house.
Right. Exactly.
Because I wanted my own space. I wanted things to be like they were before, where we were, we didn't have to depend on anybody. And I wanted to go to school. So I had all these things in line that I wanted. And so one job after another, I didn't know how to act. I remember looking at the script like this.
Right.
And I had like 4 lines, very short lines, but I had spent the whole night because I knew I was so nervous and I didn't
Right.
know like if I could continue or I could get it. But I wanted to get it right because it's like I need the next job, so I have to
Right.
do it well.
Wow.
And because I was already in advertisements anyway, so I kind of knew the gist of things and
Right.
stuff. But not acting. You don't have lines in adverts
Right.
mostly. You
So-
you kind of go like, sedap,
Right.
that's all you do. But
Right.
yeah,
So it started because you wanted to get food on the table.
Yeah.
And then it became a profession.
it became a
Okay,
profession.
awesome. So we'll stop there and we'll take a break and
Let's
we'll come
do
back. Thank you very much. This is Real Conversations with Anita. Today we're with Diana Danielle talking about resilience, everyone. Diana, you mentioned, at least I heard, that you went through a certain type of eating disorder, specifically an anorexia, and during your younger days. But I also remember you going through panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I saw that one video that you shared on your socials, Instagram specifically. Can you share with us what caused it? What was the experience like? And how are you doing now?
So I am doing so much better. But
I can see that.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
The glow. how do I start? Because there are two different timelines. So anorexia started in school when I was going through so much at home.
Right.
And also I was so into pop culture at that time. So it collided, and I thought I just didn't feel pretty. I just didn't feel good enough, and I didn't feel like I don't know, but I just felt like I could look better.
Right.
Simply said.
Okay.
So I just stopped eating because I looked at my thighs, and I look at my, because I'm generally, it's easy for me to go up and down. My weight is like that. So I'm a mesomorph, right? And I didn't understand body type. I didn't understand all these, functions of the body. So I just thought I'm fat, but I wasn't.
Right.
So I just stopped eating, and I would skip school lunch, and I would skip dinner, and I would only have breakfast. And I would be so skinny at one point, and my friends were like, you look like a skeleton, my friends would tell me in school. That made me feel worse. So I just didn't know what to do, but I knew that there was no choice. I would rather be a skeleton than fat, because that was the projection at that time. That was Paris Hilton.
Right.
That was Nicole Richie.
Yes. Right.
Remember?
Yes, I do.
And then you have Giselle, and then you have Alessandra, Adriana.
They're really skinny though.
That was what I thought was supposed to be.
Right.
And a few years after that, I was living remember I told you I was living in other people's homes, right? I was living in my auntie's house. She's not really my auntie, but let's just say she's my auntie. My auntie's house, Auntie Sue, and she was a Hong Kong actress, and she was also a Malaysian actress. So she had like all these Vanity Fair, all these like magazines stacked up at home, boxes and boxes. And she was working in China. So she knew I was very lonely. She was the only woman I knew that could really understand what I was going through. So she was a second mom to me. Okay. She was a lifesaver to me. Okay. So while I was going through all of those things, she was like, here, boxes and boxes of magazines. Right. Indulge while I'm away. At least you have something to do, because she thought this is what I liked to see. So fashion, beauty, and all that stuff. You're a teenager. You just want to look and and embrace your femininity.
That pop culture that made you feel not pretty.
Very much that. Very much that. It had a lot to do with that, but also a lot to do with nobody telling me also
that you were pretty during that time.
Yeah. Like because I have a daughter, right? And my daughter would come to me and she'd compare herself, I think, to her friends or people in school or magazines or whatever that she's seeing. Not magazines, now social media. Oh, I'm not pretty. It's our job to realign that
breaks
thought.
Your heart, right, when you hear that.
It does. And you're like, Aurora, people are made from different clays. Nobody's the same. Right. Pretty is different for everybody. Right. And I would show her different women and I'd say, I think she's pretty. Do you think she's pretty? And she'd go, she's all right. But I'm not going to say, no, that's not right. I'd say, you see, I think she's pretty, but you think she's all right. Other people, we all have different everyone has a different,
beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Correct. Like they have a different projection of what beauty is. So what I think is beautiful may not be what you think is beautiful, but everyone is beautiful to someone. Right.
In their own way.
In their own way. But I'm trying to tell her, if other people may not accept you, but it doesn't mean everybody doesn't accept you. Right. It's just different things for different people. I say again, and that's how I was trying to protect it.
What about in school though? Because I remember in school I had a couple of friends that were mixed.
I had beautiful friends. Oh, that didn't help. That didn't help. They were walking in school like a model.
Usually when people are mixed, then everyone in school is like, "Oh, she's so beautiful."
But that's the beautiful of the beautiful.
Ah, okay. So there's like a spectrum.
there's definitely a spectrum. If you have like this woman who's half Chinese, half Latin, how do you beat that? And then there's like this Mexican girl, and then there's like, this girl from Lithuania, and so
which school is this? Gosh.
I was in Ampang, and we were filled with what do you call that?
Expatriates.
Embassies.
Oh, embassies.
Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah,
got
people from
it.
Sudan. Yeah, people from China. You have just everyone was in that school. So
Wow, okay.
yeah, and you just realize, wow, I'm such a tart. Like, and yeah, that added to the pressure of having to. There's that competitiveness that you have.
How do you feel? Is it different today though, Diana? What do you think?
I think it's worse.
I think it's worse because of social media, right?
Yeah.
Because
And
during the time we had
filters.
filters. During the time we had magazines. We had a little bit of TV show, not very much, or at least during my time.
You don't get to look at people's homes and cars and lifestyles now.
And holidays.
And
Fashion
and husbands and family. And now, before you could only see them at work or at school, and you could see bits and pieces of what they want to show you. But now on social media, you get to see a whole lot more. And you're comparing 360 to what you have. There's something that you're going to be unhappy about. You know, you may be the most beautiful girl in town, but then you may not afford that holiday in Capri.
So how did you overcome that?
I didn't.
Okay.
I was consumed because right after that I went into acting, and then I was now part of the entertainment.
Did it make it worse though for you? Because when you're in the entertainment business, you were then pressured to always look good.
Okay, so I got enough of anorexia. I was like, I like to eat.
Yeah.
At one point, when you're working 12 hours on set, there's rice in front of you all the time. There's only so much you can do.
Resistance.
You can resist. At one point, you're like, I gotta sit down and eat, and then you start to go like, oh, actually, this feels good. And I gained so much weight after that. So I was actually quite chubby. But then I think I overcame. Somehow I was able to overcome because I was busy with other things. I was actually making money. I think I had bigger problems to solve. So at one point, anorexia wasn't the biggest thing I should focus on, but I exercised so much. I was doing like 500 crunches because Brittany was doing it.
I remember. I still remember that.
So I still had the pop culture expectation that I wanted to follow, you know what I mean? And I was into dance and all that stuff. So anorexia was dealt with only because I had other pressing issues like my mom's health, my financial state, haven't been able to go to school. So that was just like, I just need to focus on other things. So it wasn't that I resolved it. I didn't resolve it. It just turned into something else.
So how does that translate into your self-esteem, confidence today though?
Today?
Yep.
Wow. How does it translate?
Because you said, you were pressured and, you never felt you were pretty, but now going into the entertainment industry, I'm sure all your friends tell you all the time, you're beautiful, you're talented, etc. So now you have all these compliments and praises. I
still struggle with having receive compliments. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary. Don't you think that's interesting?
It is interesting.
It's not about whether I believe it or not. I think it's not necessary. It goes beyond wanting to hear it or not wanting to hear it. It's just like we don't have to talk about that.
But it contributed to you having anorexia, though.
I think.
Was it the pop culture that affected it more?
Both.
Yeah.
I think pop culture and also school because there were so many beautiful people, and just not being happy with my current life. So it's not as simple. When you talk about mental health, it's not a one-line answer. It's a lot of different things that are mixed into one.
So what would you say to teens that are struggling right now with anorexia? Because a lot of teens, a lot of children as well, struggle with eating disorders, struggle with body image. What would you tell them?
I think if I could tell myself, again, if I was, if I could go back in time and see myself, I would tell myself, what do I say? Diana, what do I say? I would say that is not the answer. What you're doing to yourself is not the answer. I think you need to be kinder to yourself. You need to learn to let go of trying to be in control, because I was trying to control something about myself.
Yeah.
And to surround my thoughts with just better words, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because what else can you do? As teenagers, so many things are out of your control. You're not fully an adult.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like you're
in
no here
between.
nor
You're
there.
not a
Yeah,
kid.
you're
You're
in
not an
between.
adult, you know? And the only thing you can really do is make sure that you say the right things to yourself.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew more about nutrition. But how do you say that to a teen?
Betul? Yeah, but
How
I
do
think
you say that to a teen? Like, you got to know more about your nutrition, and you know, and it's not good for you, and you really can't say anything
Right.
but to just ask them to be kinder to themselves. What would you say, Anita? I'm lost for words.
Yeah, I would say,
because I didn't resolve that.
Right, you didn't
understand?
resolve it, right.
So I didn't really get myself out of it. I was just able to distract myself with other things.
Right. I think self-acceptance is really important. So having that conversation, saying, Diana, look, you're beautiful just how you are, And I think it's so important to have that conversation. Because remember,
there was that, Anita.
No, there was this one video. I don't know if
it almost is a quote on a T-shirt. You know what I mean? No, but
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
You're beautiful. You're
But like what you said, right? Beautiful comes in all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Right? It's not your just one definition when we talk about somebody being beautiful. Right? And I always tell this to
would it be self-acceptance or being realistic
Both.
about what beauty is?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everyone. Like I tell my kids all the time, you might think that this person's beautiful physically.
But would it work for a kid whose parents tell her she's not beautiful every day?
That's the thing, like what you said, right? You need to also hear it. But you see, the thing is, my kids, when I tell them, look, you're smart, you're beautiful, you're doing well, and they're like, that's such a biased comment, mommy, because you're my mom. You must
Your kids
say
are
that.
too smart.
I know, exactly, right? But we forget, kids need to hear it.
No, I remember my Auntie Sue, she would tell me, you're beautiful, you're kind, you're intelligent. And at first you're like, and then you sit on it.
Right. It sinks in, right?
It grows.
It does, and it's so helpful to hear it. And even though I'm an adult, Diana, when I share my struggles with certain people and they tell me things like, just one word, Anita, what you're going through is valid. That in itself, let me tell you, it helps me tremendously.
I have an answer now. For those of you who don't have, for all the teenagers out there who don't have people telling you you're beautiful or giving you the reassurance that you need, journal.
Journal.
Yeah, because I don't want to make up answers.
Right.
I don't think it's fair.
Right.
But I think what you can do is journal and process your thoughts.
Right.
And see how you're talking to yourself.
Awesome.
And then realign those words to fit what you want to, how you want to see the world.
Right. Declutter, right? What's up here?
Oh, yeah. Because
Awesome.
I've started journaling 1st of Jan. So I hope I can end on the...
First is in 2024?
Yeah. And then I want to end it on the 31st and see how far I come. So...
Yay, awesome. Okay. All right, thank you for sharing that. All right, everyone, we are with Diana Danielle in Real Conversations with Anita, and we'll talk about resilience more after this. Right, so Diana, a little bit about how are you taking care of your mental health, and what have you done that maybe I should be doing?
Oh,
Or be doing more of.
I think you've got it down pat.
You never know, man.
You're right. Yeah. Okay, for myself, I know now work-life balance is the most important thing.
Crucial.
That I focus on that so much that whenever I kind of tilt off balance, I can feel it right away.
I know.
Right?
Me too.
Once you know what balance is, you know then what isn't right for you, okay? So that's how I actually got into my first few panic attacks. It's the superwoman,
Overworked.
do everything yourself, don't
Yes.
delegate, too egoistic to ask for help.
High five,
Were you
man.
there?
Yes, of course.
No way.
Horrible place to be in.
Horrible.
Horrible.
And that sense of wanting control and wanting everything to be perfect was just eating me up inside.
Didn't know how to ask for help, man.
Didn't know how to ask. Yeah. Are you the firstborn?
Second.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but a year apart.
I'll get to you later
Yes.
on that. Okay, so talking about mental health. So I was racing. The first time I got my panic attack, I was actually racing.
Oh yes, I remember now. Okay, goosebumps. Yes, I remember. Okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
racing in Penang.
Yes.
It was so hot.
Betul.
I think I had a heat stroke, and then I had a panic attack in the heat stroke.
Was it while you were driving?
Because I was just back from Japan, and then I had flown into KL. I went straight into my car and I raced.
Okay.
So I was heavily overworked at that time. I was driving. I wanted to win so bad. It's that, yeah.
It's like me. Competitive, man.
Very competitive. I couldn't feel my body anymore. I felt like I was sitting outside of the car. It was so hot. I've never felt that kind of heat in my life.
And then with everything that you're wearing, right?
Yeah, I was wearing layers and layers, and I had a helmet and
on.
stuff. So I had that heat on my face. It was just everything just came to my face, and I couldn't breathe for 5 days.
I remember.
So I went to
Seeing that video.
Yeah, no, that was the second. That was 2
that
years
was
after.
Oh, so this was the
The
first
first time. And I went to the hospital, and my doctor was laughing at me. And I went to the cardiologist, and he was
I
like,
have a heart problem, doctor.
no, they referred me
No,
because my
God.
heartbeat was not synced. It jumped a few beats. I thought I was in love. So then he was like, girl, you don't have, I was 24. My daughter was 1 year old. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to have a heart problem. They referred me to the cardiologist, and I thought, this is the end of me. I have a heart problem.
Right.
I thought I had a hole in my heart or something, or what do you call that? Arithmetic.
Yeah.
Not.
I don't remember the
Yeah.
clinical term for it. Yeah.
So he gave me Xanax. And he was
Xanax for a heart problem, okay.
so he heard he macam ni is like, hey girl, this panic attack lah. Just go home, rest,
betul.
have Xanax, and you're fine. So then I had it, and it changed me. I never got addicted to it because I don't believe in
You weren't
in
dependent
pills.
on it, right?
No, I will not allow myself to be dependent on any types of pills. So
Right.
that I put that's my boundary right there. I don't like to feel dependent on anything really.
I know, me too. Could be a bad thing as well.
Yeah, but it's a good thing too because like Xanax is not going to solve my issues.
Right, of course.
I have to confront them. But then I went straight into work again. The next 2 years,
After the 5 days?
after the 5 days, I was okay. I was okay. 2 years later, I got addicted to coffee. I liked not sleeping. I loved that I had 50 projects on my plate. And I loved that I had 2 kids that needed me, and I wanted to cook, and I wanted to clean the house, and I wanted to, go for every meeting, and I just wanted to do every project that came my way. And then what? Like I
Right.
only had one body, but it felt like I had a whole team behind me.
Right.
And so I woke up one day and I couldn't breathe again. But this time, Xanax did
Didn't
not
help.
work. I just couldn't breathe for the next 4 days, even though I had Xanax. And I thought, I'm going to die. And then I met this angel of a woman who I didn't know who she was. She was on Facebook, and she reached out to me. And she was like, I can help you. You have GERD.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, what? GERD? What's that? And she's like, something you ate that's just effing you up inside.
Right.
So she gave me pills and pills, like, of supplements.
Oh, okay.
You have to give yourself all of these goodies, please. You have to makan all these supplements so that your body becomes strong. Don't skip food. Don't skip sleep.
food.
Yeah. So eat 5 times a day now because you are replenishing.
Right.
Have your supplements. Sleep before 10 o'clock. And she gave me this module.
Regime,
Yeah, that I had to follow for the next 2 months.
Right.
And I became a new person.
Right. Of course, it helps.
Yeah.
You can do it for maybe 2-3 weeks and you'll see a difference.
Complete difference.
Of course.
Of every area of your life.
Because you're a human being, you're not a robot.
Remember, do you feel like you haven't laughed for a long time?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. You need more sleep.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Good sleep, good nutrition, and
Betul.
suddenly you laugh for no reason. You know, there's joy in your
Yes,
body.
of course.
It radiates.
Right.
So that's what I know. I went to a psychiatrist, and he said, yes, that was an anxiety attack, but it was lifestyle related.
Yep.
It wasn't because you couldn't handle your issues and stuff. It was your behavior towards your life that needs to change. And this is more of your... you need more behavioral therapy than anything.
Betul, of course. And then your gut is your second brain.
Correct.
And you are what you eat. And this
Correct.
is so important for everyone to understand.
Google
right?
microbiome.
Yes. Oh yeah, that too. And then did you exercise after? Like within this regime that you had?
No, I skipped that.
You skipped that.
I did not exercise, but I went into yoga. So I think that's a form of exercise.
Okay. It is.
Yeah, so I went into yoga, heavily went into yoga, felt better about that. But no, I'm not
So
an
it was the
exercise
lifestyle.
person. It was definitely
So
the
how are you
lifestyle.
now, today?
I have blocks of time for everything. I plan weeks ahead, maybe a week ahead if I don't have time. I know what's going on
Yay.
in my life. I know what I want and what I don't want. There are times when you put some stuff on your plate, but then you know when you need to stop.
Right.
You know, sometimes you get a bit greedy, right?
Betul.
But the level is not as before. Back then, I would burn out almost every month.
But I guess it's not, I wouldn't say greedy though, because sometimes you feel like you don't want to disappoint certain people.
And you
know what
haven't done enough.
And you haven't done enough.
Yeah.
So there's that pressure.
Yeah.
You're your own worst, best enemy.
Worst, best enemy. Love it.
Can. All right, thank you, Diana, for sharing that. Now, as a mom of 2 kids, so these experiences that you've gone through, I mean, they're so invaluable, right? How are you supporting your kids in their journey with school and their own emotional struggles, mental health? You know, how does that look like?
I'm so aware of what my kids are going through.
I know, me too. It's awesome, right?
What's
It's
in their
different.
head, you know, and if something is wrong,
Right. You sense it again.
You sense it, and you take control, and you say the words that you wish someone had said to you when you were that age.
Yes.
And you know, my son is competitive also. He's in football, so he does tournaments every week.
Wow.
And so he's pressured to be the best because he wants to be the best.
Right.
So my husband has this attitude of he pushes the kids, and he comes from a good place, you know. But I have to be there to manage the expectation so that Muhammad doesn't get too hard on himself.
Right.
And Aurora also having her mom in the limelight.
Right.
So she also feels like she compares herself to me somehow. I don't know why. And she's like, oh, people say I don't look like you. And sometimes the people, she
does though.
She does.
She does.
It's just that maybe she doesn't look exactly like me. I don't know what she sees, but she's like, but I don't have this, I don't have that. I'm like, girl, I don't have dimples, you know, and you are going to be taller than me for sure. You have the longest legs in this house, you know. So she laughs, and then I have to break it down to her. But how do I manage their mental health? I will just make sure we have conversation. You sit down with them weekly. You ask them how they are, and it's not what you want to hear.
Right.
Sometimes they give you standard answers. You challenge those answers, you know, and you go, okay, and you ask deeper questions. You have to prod and poke, because sometimes they don't know what to say, and sometimes you have to bring it out from them and say certain words like, you know, are you feeling like you're not being supported?
To prompt them, right?
Prompt them. Are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling? And then they go, yeah, I actually am feeling this way.
Right.
So that's how.
Do you feel they're open with you?
When you allow that space and you cultivate that every week, they know now when to come to you and say, I don't feel the best. I don't know. Yes, I make sure I give them that space.
Awesome.
They come to me for that, particularly to unload and, you know.
So how's that different? So what does Farid do in comparison to you when you're supporting supporting them, and how does he support you in your struggles? Because you said the anorexia is not resolved. You're better with your anxiety, but what is his role then? And are you a soccer mom? I had to ask that.
I'm not a soccer mom. He's a soccer dad.
He's a soccer dad.
Yeah, I'm forced to just show up.
Right.
So
but you do show. You come to the games. You cheer.
I'm thankful because he takes care of the exercise, physical part.
Right.
So he's great with that. He makes sure the kids have all the physical activities they need, which is amazing.
It is.
And he gets very competitive. So then I have to sit down and say, let them enjoy.
Right.
They're not even 10. And my son just turned 10 this year. So literally, like he's only 10. Give him time to be competitive at his own pace. So my husband, okay. How does he support me? He's very, I took it for granted. But he's actually very in tune with how I feel.
Okay.
So when my hormones are all over the place, he knows when to be quiet.
Right.
He knows when to not talk back. He can be the husband, like, hey, listen to me, okay, I'm the husband, but he never exerts that dominance. And whenever he sees that I need that space to rest, he tells the kids to not disturb me. And he allows me to say what I need to say. And if it gets too much for him, he'll just walk away, because sometimes these are heavy topics within the marriage itself. I rasa you tak ni, I rasa you tak tu. He doesn't fight back. And then I realized 2 days later, I'm having my menses. So
and you go that every month.
Right?
We go through that every month.
I'm so thankful that he gives me that space to just rant, to be in my moods. I don't feel like I give him that much space.
Yeah, because I remember when I heard you the other day, you were talking about how you're a very independent person, right? And then you didn't necessarily have that father figure, right? And then when you got married and then he comes in, then you have a son. I don't know how that looks like for you. And was it easy adapting?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Was the worst time of my life.
And then because you're also independent, then naturally you're also dominant. You know what I mean?
I wanted to play mom and dad every day.
I know, exactly.
Right?
Right?
And he was like, what do I do if you're playing mom and dad?
Then what's my role, right?
Am I the uncle that comes to visit? You know?
Right.
He took a step back, and I think it's part of it is my fault, because I didn't allow him to grow into his place.
Okay.
But then after a certain time,
do you allow him to pay for food and?
Oh, I took some time for that as well.
Okay.
Now he's like, no, I pay.
Right.
So he knows when to step in now. But back then, no. Oh my God, babe, it's so bad. We do it to ourselves.
We do, because I'm that way as well. It took me a little bit time to get used to other people taking care of me. You know? So I've always been that dominant person as well.
Wow.
Yeah. But I had a dad. Not that I didn't. You know, I have brothers and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think naturally I was just very dominant. I think because I come from an all-girls school. So it shaped me into, you know, girls can do anything they put their minds
No,
in.
I think it's the school of thought that we carry at this day and age. It has, you know, wherever you come from, I think we're being indoctrinated to think that, you know, we can do everything, but dude, why do we need
you want to do?
Yeah. Can doesn't mean you should. Right? So I think there's a difference there that we need to we need to talk about, especially to women out there. Just because you can when they're not there.
Right.
But when they're there, let them be men.
Oh my God,
you know?
yes.
Don't emasculate them, right? Yeah.
So I, you know, and even with my husband, like it took time for me to accept that I'm buying you this. You know, this is for you. You know, I want to do this for you. Kan betul kan, babe? Oh my God. So anyway, thank you, Diana, for sharing that. Okay, now one last thing. Everything that you've gone through, right? What is maybe one or two lessons that you take with you that you want people to know so that they too can do something about it?
We didn't even touch on this, but the power of dua. When I was younger, I was so disconnected in that part because I felt like I was just so consumed with my problems. Nobody taught me really to turn to God and just to submit and to tell my problems, share my problems with Him. So when I have been doing that for, I think, the past 10 years, I realized that I manage so much better. I get better at it as well in asking, in you know,
Curating it.
curating it. You know, in the past, say 4 years, I've been well, almost an expert. Almost an expert for me lah kan, as compared to before.
What is your one doa that you don't miss every day?
One doa that I don't miss every day.
Because everyone has that doa, that every single day, that's one thing that they ask for consistently.
I feel like I ask to be of value to people in my life, that I bring value to my kids, that I can actually be the person that can contribute. And to get is one thing, but I want to contribute more to my family. So those are the things, like macam sometimes you feel like you're contributing more to yourself and to your career or other people, but you miss the family. So I takut I'm giving value to other people and I'm doing other people a favor, tapi my kids feel empty.
Yes.
My husband feels neglected.
Right.
So those are the things that I always pray, so that I have my priorities in the right order. So that those are the things that I ask for every single day.
But it's interesting, kan, because a lot of women feel that way. You feel like you do so much for your career, but then you come home, you feel you're not doing enough at home. You're not doing enough for your kids, or you're not doing enough as a wife. Why do you think?
Because I'm not. Sometimes you have to be real with yourself. Right. You know,
you know you're not.
I know I'm not.
Right.
I know I can be better. I
Right.
think also because there's a structure to sometimes you can measure what you've given to your career.
You can.
You can. But then you can't measure the love that you give to your kids.
Betul.
And sometimes I'm not balanced in the way that I give my time. When I come home, I want everyone to ignore me because I'm tired.
Right.
When at home, I'm supposed to be serving my family.
Betul.
So I know when I'm not serving.
Slacking, kan?
I'm lacking.
Right.
It's not because I want perfection, but I think that they deserve for
Betul.
me to challenge that. Oh, dekat rumah I have to rehat. Yeah, you can rehat, but at the same time, your kids need you, your husband needs you, and
Yes.
you need you at home.
Right.
So, but it could be toxic. It could be the point where you are drying yourself out.
Yes.
But in my case,
You know you're not, right?
I know I'm not. I know
Betul.
that I'm just giving too much outside, and I'm not contented with being a homebody. I want to be half housewife. Yeah,
Balance.
housewife.
Balance lah, kan?
Yeah. So I need to up the skills and become better at that.
Right. I totally resonate with so many things that you just said, and especially, for me, I know I'm slacking when I'm not cooking enough at home. That's how I measure it, right? Like I know for the week, I only cook twice. Okay, God, I gotta
Betul.
get up on my game. So next week I try to do
And the
better.
feminists are like, why do you need to cook?
Exactly.
Why
Yes,
does your
you do,
husband
man.
cook?
Yeah.
It's not that. It's the love that you
Betul.
pour into your food.
Yeah, and you can cook anything, and they'll say, "Sedap,"
Stop.
and they'll say, "Thank you, mommy."
And the touch that you bring at home when you
Betul.
declutter, when you
Betul.
susun,
Betul.
you come
Yeah.
home and you're like, Mami jaga rumah ni.
Betul. And then you bring everyone together,
Yes.
right? And then you can have those conversations, and you're more relaxed pun sebenarnya when you cook at home,
Betul.
rather than order Grab or go out and eat. Kan
Yeah.
penat.
Betul. Oh, that best. Money lagi.
Betul,
Kan? All that
betul.
Grab food.
Awesome. Thank you so much, babe. So what would you say to the people that are tuning in? What would your message be for today's discussion?
My message would be, I think the world is moving way too fast.
Yes.
And we all have so much on our plate. And we have so much expectation because of all these outside influences that we almost, all of us don't really know who we are. And what our true intentions are, because it's always being
Influenced
influenced by something.
Right.
And we're so distracted. And I hope we out there, all of us, including myself, just take that handbrake, wake up a little earlier, or take some time, pockets of time to really introspect and to really figure out what makes you feel content, not happy, content, because happiness is fleeting. But what will make you feel like when you wake up tomorrow that yesterday was worth it?
Right.
I always do that. It's like whenever I feel like I'm doing a lot, I always question, does this matter?
Mhm.
Will it matter tomorrow if I wake up and say I actually made yesterday worth it?
Right.
Is, maybe you said a few words that changed someone's day, or if you figured out something about yourself that you can bring forward that can actually bring a lot of contentment for you the next day, or if that difficult conversation that you needed to have with your husband or your family that had taken so many years, and you sit down and you actually face that fear and you open up, that would be something that you are so proud of for yourself, Lakan. So do little things that make you proud and make your family proud if but make yourself proud first, and it resonates to everybody else. So that's what I hope we do every day.
Thank you so much, Diana. I feel that whatever that you've just shared, it resonated a lot with my own journey, really,
Interesting.
to my recovery, because a lot of things that happened, within the past 10 years, been a decade long of me struggling with my own mental struggles and listening to you. These are all really, some of the things are more common challenges that we all face, and it's societal pressure, right?
Yep.
And it's also managing expectations of people or others, and we bring that and we put it so much on us, and then it takes a toll on us.
Yeah.
So the basic fundamental, guys, we've got to take care of ourselves. Lifestyle, very important.
Lifestyle.
Sleeping early, or like what you said, I like that, interesting. Just every day getting up a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
Hello, it makes a lot of difference.
it does.
It does, and then you
Now I wake up and I journal only because I want to know what's up with
right.
myself, and it really helps.
Okay.
Or talk to yourself in the mirror.
I used to do that a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, you should still.
Should still do it again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Diana Danielle. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. Finally, our wishes came true for you to come on board our podcast.
It's always been my dream to do something with MIASA.
Yay.
I
You
didn't
should
know
do
what
more.
it was.
You should do more.
Yes,
It's awesome.
absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you for
right.
giving me this.
Take
space.
care and salam to the family, and hope you have a fabulous 2024, Diana. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed our conversation today with Diana Danielle, with Real Conversations with Anita. See you guys soon. This is Real Conversations with Anita, a mental health podcast brought to you by MIASA Malaysia.